Hello, sir, and all. Thank you for taking time to watch my first screencast. I'm Mahesh Panchal, doing MBA in Software Development and Management from Symbiosis, Pune. My topic is comparison of RUP and Agile method, specifically XP for small and medium projects. In this presentation, I will take you through just little bit overview of RUP and XP, and then more emphasis on comparison task of RUP and XP, and finally I will conclude the session. So what's a RUP? RUP is Rational Unified Process, as we already studied in the workshop, and we also have hands-on RUP methods. So I will not gonna discuss details about the RUP. So RUP is a very popular off-shelf process based on idea of highly iterative development model. It has specific disciplined approach for requirement management. For designing purpose, it uses the UML. And one more core element of RUP is that it required the continuous assessment of the quality of the system. So next is XP. So what is XP? XP is extreme programming. It consists of set up rules and the practices that governs all areas of software development. So XP is basically practices and used for the rapid development of high quality software that provides the highest value to the customer in the fastest way possible. XP takes the 12 well-known best practices. These 12 well-known best practices we will discuss in the next slide. XP works on the different software areas like planning, designing, coding, and the testing. One more interesting thing about the XP is that the stakeholders are the part of the project team. So just overview about the XP. This XP is very flexible and evolutionary development method. It uses the 12 core practices. These 12 core practices are like the planning game in which the feature is written out as a user story, then the small release, system metaphor, system design, continuous testing. The continuous testing can be done using the unit testing like JUnit testing or the acceptance test, even also known as the functional testing. Then another best practices like refactoring, pair programming, in which two people sit together and they do the coding. Then collective code ownership, continuous integration, 40 hours work week, on-site customer. It requires one live customer and the coding standards. The main focus is on the focus of the XP is on the working code rather than its documentation. And XP works where the team is small, that is the less than 10. It works on between 12 to 12. So if we look at the scenario, the lightweight and the heavyweight process, the earlier there are heavyweight process are used like the classical waterfall model like V process, and nowadays there is shifting paradigm toward the lightweight process. In heavyweight process, they are more document driven, elaborate workflow definition, and there are many checkpoints are there. And for lightweight, there is more emphasis on the working code rather than its documentation. So if we compare the task by task, if we compare the task of both phases at the very basic level, then we found that for the first task, if we compare the analysis of the requirement and the business modeling, the RUP begins by the creation of vision document, which compromises of business motivational document, even system feature, preconditions, constraint, risk main use case diagrams, the initial architecture design document. These all comes under the vision document. While for XP there is user stories, communication feedback from the customer side is required. If we compare the second phase, analysis and design task, the RUP, after the completion of this vision document in this second phase, which is the general project description is required. The next step is more precise definition of the main use cases. Initial version of use cases should be created by the customer, serving as the basis for the more detailed analysis and discussion among the developers and the customer representative. For the XP, there is need only system metaphor is developed. For implementation phase, RUP, based on this description, we created the main use case prototype, while for XP there is no such case is required. If we compare the testing phase, creation of test plan is here in RUP, and for XP, as we know that the test cases are written before the code. For the configuration and change management task, the RUP change control strategy is required, while for XP it is not required. And for the last parameter, that is the project management, in RUP detailed schedule is required, while for XP stories need to be estimated. Now comparison at the system analysis and design level, that is the SAD, system analysis and design level. We can compare on the basis of different tasks like the analysis of requirement and business in the modeling. In RUP, use case analysis is required, and for XP, user stories are mandatory with the feedback from the customer. Second task, analysis and design. The developers intensively work on the analysis and design of the system. Here RUP finds its role because XP does not define any specific activity for this purpose in the RUP. In the RUP, developer create model of system component described by the UML diagrams such as the class diagram, sequence and the collaboration diagram. And the third task is the implementation. In RUP, architecture prototype is made, while XP multiple tasks are required such as the frequent small release, continuous integration, collective ownership, refactoring and the paired programming. For testing plan, RUP testing is done in very classical way. It requires the plan, design and implementation document. But for the XP, as we already discussed, the test cases are written before the code. Then the configuration and change management. As in RUP, the change request document is required, while as we discussed, XP has very less focus on the documentation, so no such document is required. And final task to compare in the SAD, that is the project management. Here again the defined project plan and the status assessment document is required, while for the XP just there is need of iteration plan. Let's compare the system construction on the basis of different tasks. Now the XP activities are more prominent in this comparison because XP is more focused on towards the work rather than the making documentation. The process from system analysis and design to system construction phase is not an abrupt one, rather than graduate shift from emphasis and the intensity of work from the design to the implementation. If we compare this table with the earlier table, then we can mainly differentiate between SAD and the construction phases, as it's in improved stability of the system. Here it is in implementation phase, improved stability of the system, and the more control over the change request. So generally the required document in the system construction phase is mostly same as that of the SAD phase, with the difference that up to now everything has been sufficiently clarified in the full motion, so there is no need of detailed planning and future iteration as before. By the end of system construction phase, we can start to consider that the transfer means the installation, testing and education of the system to the customer as suggested by RUP. Though there is a roll-up transition phase. So in the transition phase, this is the next slide. In a transition phase, although formally the last and transition phase start by the release of the first executable version of the software, regardless of its much reduced functionality. So by the day the first release is considered as the system birthday. Again the iterative process recognized by both RUP and XP. RUP provides the product acceptance plan document, which formalizes the test method, test time schedule and the criteria for the successful completion of the test document. RUP deployment plan document. Deployment plan document determines the responsibility in the team. RUP deployment plan document. This document determines the responsibility in the team, the time, schedule and the infrastructure for successful system deployment. Finally, supporting material like the user manual, the educational courses have to be prepared in the they are prepared in the RUP. Now to summarize these two methods, RUP and XP. If we look at this at very basic level, RUP is very highly formal and structured one. which can be applied at the wide variety of the projects, and providing many out-of-box roadmap for a number of project types. And for XP in contrast, XP devote the everyday life at low management level of development team. It does not insist on documentation. It does not provide any project template, and this is more project oriented technology. It depends on the human intelligence rather than the process base. So common learnings from this about the RUP and XP. XP is suitable if these both two conditions, if these two conditions are satisfied. That is, the team need to be small, less than 12. That is the 2 to 12, and the requirements are vague. Yeah, absolutely vague. If user don't yet know what the requirements, that time the XP is mostly the best suitable for this. Even the user know the requirement, that time also it suits. But if the requirements are not fixed yet, that time XP work well. And instead of RUP is used when these two conditions are false. That is, the team can be large, and but here the requirement must be fixed one. The requirement does not to be vague. Why this RUP? Where the RUP XP? The problem with the XP is that it fails when there is team is big one. What happens actually? If some general unspoken idea is there, and this is not able to convey to all the team members. And second thing, if once someone writes the code, then it need to be known by everyone. So these are some pitfalls. But finally, I must say that both RUP and XP are very useful in the software development. So thank you for patient listening, and you can send feedback on my mail address.